The true story of how an African-American detective infiltrated the Ku Klux Klan. It's 1978, and Colorado Springs Police Department's first ever African-American detective Ron Stallworth spots a classified advert in the local newspaper. Apparently, the Ku Klux Klan is looking to recruit new members, and Stallworth wastes no time in penning a response. What he didn't know at the time, though, was that this single act would lead to one of the most bizarre events in the Klan's history. Stallworth was born on June 18, 1953, in Chicago, Illinois. And at first, he seemed destined for a tough life amid the poverty and violence of the city's south side. Ultimately, though, Stallworth's mother relocated the family across the country to El Paso, close to the border with Mexico. In El Paso, Stallworth found himself living across the road from one of the city's inaugural black police officers. He looked up to his neighbor, whom Stallworth would refer to as a good man, and a role model in an August 2018 interview with the BBC. Then, in 1972, Stallworth's family left Texas for Colorado Springs. Stallworth eventually became a police cadet in Colorado Springs. He was among only a few African Americans in the city to take on such a role. And even though he was told that racism existed within the force, he resolved to get on with the job. The rookie disliked the idea of wearing a uniform, however, and soon began craving an undercover role. Fortunately, it wasn't long before Stallworth got a taste of his dream job. Officers needed someone to cover civil rights activist Stokely Carmichael's speech at a Colorado Springs nightclub. Stallworth jumped at the prospect, and so his first undercover assignment began. At the time, the Black Power movement, led by organizations such as the Black Panther Party, to which Carmichael had formerly belonged, had been working to improve conditions for African Americans for over a decade. But while the activists and campaigners had helped secure many victories for equality, racism was still a major issue throughout the United States. However, as the civil rights movement had risen to prominence in the 1960s, the white supremacist organization the Ku Klux Klan, first founded in the 1860s, had pushed back. Indeed, while Carmichael and his peers were opening businesses and founding schools, the Klan was attacking activists and even bombing an African American church. Fortunately, Stallworth's first undercover assignment passed without incident. In fact, he even met Carmichael, who warned him that a revolution was on the horizon. And even though Stallworth was sympathetic towards the activists' politics, he knew that his role as a policeman had to take priority. Then, in October 1978, Stallworth was working as an intelligence detective for the Colorado Springs Police Department. Apparently, his job involved monitoring the local media and taking note of anything suspicious. And one day, while he was scanning the newspapers, he spotted the advertisement that would change his life for good. The ad in question was for a local chapter of the Ku Klux Klan, and it invited readers to get in touch for further details. In fact, the classified even included the details of a P.O. box address where the group could be reached. Intrigued, Stallworth penned a letter claiming to be a white man who hated the African American community. Not expecting much of a response, Stallworth signed his real name at the end of the letter. 2 weeks later, though, a man hoping to form a local branch of the Klan got in touch by phone. Apparently, he wanted to know why Stallworth was keen to be part of the organization, and the detective soon formulated a convincing response. Stallworth subsequently launched into a profanity-ridden speech about why he hated minorities and how he thought that the Klan could help him to put a stop to all of this nonsense. Needless to say, Stallworth was told he was a perfect candidate for the group. In fact, the man on the other end of the call even invited Stallworth to meet him in person. Naturally, this left the young African American in a somewhat tricky situation. Of course, Stallworth's ruse would have been short-lived if he had attempted to go through with any rendezvous himself. So, he recruited a white colleague to impersonate him whenever he needed to meet Klan members in person. Amazingly, that marked the start of an investigation that would take Stallworth to the heart of the white supremacist organization. Over the course of the next 7 months, Stallworth was able to worm his way into the Klan's workings, gaining access to sensitive information that would otherwise have been difficult to acquire. And as a consequence, the detective was able to prevent a number of cross-burnings from taking place. Additionally, Stallworth learned of a Klan plot to detonate bombs in 2 gay bars in Denver, Co. However, thanks to his undercover role, his team was able to prevent the attack from taking place. But perhaps most significantly, Stallworth and his colleague exposed the existence of serving military personnel within the white supremacist group. And, amazingly, no one seemed to cotton on to Stallworth's true identity, not even David Duke, then Klan leader. Apparently, the pair spoke often on the phone. And even though the undercover cop taunted Duke by suggesting that someone could lie on the phone about being white, the other man insisted that he would never fall for such a trick. Eventually, Stallworth and Duke did meet face to face, although not as fellow members of the Klan. Instead, Stallworth had to protect a white supremacist during a Klan rally in Colorado Springs. And Duke even agreed to have a photo taken with Stallworth until, that is, the cop put his hand on Duke's shoulder to pose for the picture. By 1979, Stallworth had become so ingrained in the Klan, moreover, that the organizer of the local chapter had requested he lead the group. The detective's superiors decided enough was enough, however, and ordered him to put a stop to the investigation. Subsequently, many of the files on the case were destroyed. Stallworth still managed to take some home, though, along with his Klan membership card. Today, Stallworth is retired, having spent the rest of his career as a narcotics investigator and a member of the Colorado Attorney General's strike force against organized crime. And for a while, it seemed as if his incredible story may have gone untold. Then, in 2014, the former cop released a book, Black Klansman, in which he detailed the highs and lows of his improbable undercover investigation. And in 2018, Black Klansman, a movie loosely adapted from Stallworth's book, was released. In the film, director Spike Lee made a point of linking the story to racial issues in the United States today, such as the deadly 2017 white nationalist protests in Charlottesville, Virginia. To Stallworth, it's an opportunity to remind audiences that the attitudes he confronted in the 1970s have not been eliminated. "I hope they recognize that racism is alive and well," he told Vanity Fair in August 2018, that the Klan has never gone.